Welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you are so well and having a really fantastic day. So it's morning here, so good morning, good morning, good morning. It's probably about 9:50 in the morning here. Now I'm guessing that I'm usually kind of spot on right when Carl asks me what's the time, so I'm sure it's about 9:50. Anyway, good morning to you, and I hope you're having a great morning so far. Today's tutorial is based on facing my UFOs, or in this case it could be facing your UFOs. And in case you're wondering, if you're not sure or if you're new to quilting, what it actually means is facing up or completing those unfinished objects, or in my case, as I like to call it, unfinished projects. Now I have 3 of those. One of them is a layer cake, and that's the one we're going to work with today. So I'm literally going to be facing this up. Now I really don't know why I didn't complete this. In fact, tell a lie, I think I do know. I fell out of love with it. I've made it probably a year and a half ago now, and it's a ribbon pattern, and I think I got it from Jordan Fabrics, and I just never fell through with it. Now I usually don't use other people's fabrics to make my quilt. I usually come up with my own ideas, and I like doing that because it stretches my creativity and allows me to have any unguided sort of areas, and I can do whatever I please. But this one I did follow her pattern, and I love Jordan Fabrics, by the way, so you can go check it out. I think it's called Ribbon, but as I said, I did it probably a year and a half ago. Now it's a really nice top, but I don't know, something about it, I just didn't like it after all, putting the quilt top together. I don't know if it's the colors, I just don't know what it is, but I made it and I was like, oh, I don't like it anymore, and I just completed in fact, and just put it in a container or a box. And funny enough, I saw it yesterday. So yesterday I'm thinking, well, what should I do for this week's tutorial? And there it was, just facing me. I'm thinking, right, okay, you know what, I'm gonna get this done. Carl said to me, I'm sure you're going to love it once you've completed. It might even be the best one. I don't think so, but anyway, I'll show it to you and you can give me your opinion as to what you think about it. While I'm showing it to you, I will sort of give you sort of guidance of what I did. Obviously there is no sort of cutting and sewing in this one because I'm literally facing up to my unfinished projects. And you know what, I think it's nice to finish them off and complete its story. All right, so you know, every quilt sort of tends to have a story. Have you actually noticed that when you make a quilt, either something happened that, you know, caused you to do that, or something during the quilt? And I have one of those quilts that's actually caused, well, I have a few of them, but one of them that sticks out in my mind is when my sister passed, and that was very, very difficult for me to actually complete making that quilt. And one day I'll actually share that story with you, but it was really difficult, and that's a very much a recent quilt on YouTube at the moment. So it was very difficult for me to complete it, and I don't think anybody would notice my sadness at that particular time, because I did so well to try and hide it. I wasn't my usual bubbly self, which sometimes can be a bit too much, but you know, that's just me. But anyway, I digress. So I'm going to take you through, but before I know that, like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit that notification bell, and of course, you know, leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. It makes me so excited. So there you go. So I'll see you in a more. I'll take you through, and I will show you as well how I do my basting of my quilts, obviously some quilting and the binding. So it's going to be literally about finishing, as I said, facing up those UFOs, or in my case, my unfinished projects. So once again, guys, take care, and I'll see you in a moment. Okay guys, so here's my layer cake ribbon quilt. So as you can see, obviously it's very I'm kind of speechless with it. It's very scrappy looking, and it's exactly how you see it. It's exactly how I made it. Okay, so the layer cakes were cut into 4, and I use a dark contrasting color from one of the layer cakes to make the ribbons. And I'll just go zoom in a little bit closer. So the ribbons are the fabric in between the squares. So I cut it into 4, as I said, and I used, I think it was a 1-inch strip, 1 inch by 5 inch, and I put it in between, I think probably about 26, 27 squares, and it obviously, the quilt itself is set on point, and so I layered it in a diagonal way. So if you look at it carefully, you can see that the ribbon in between the squares on the slant, you know, so the way how I laid it out obviously was on point. Okay, and it was framed with a yellow fabric for the inner border. So and I don't know what possessed me to use yellow, but I don't know. And I guess there's all the reasons why I fell out of love with it. It just looked so many colors. And then not only that, I then decided was to add on a patchwork border, and I obviously used the fab leftover squares that was in the layer cake to do this. And so I used one of the prominent colors of black, obviously, as the middle, and I layered them on the slant, and then trim them up and stitch it together. I mean, it looks nice. I do love the patchwork border, and I did that in all 4 areas of the quilt top, over here as well, and of course and down there as well. But I don't know. But then the strangest thing happened. I just very odd that I decided was to use sort of a gold color to extend the borders on that patchwork, and I don't know why I did that. So I guess these are the reasons why I sort of fell out of love with it. And not only that, guys, I then went ahead and did a purple floral border all around that. So I think that was probably a 4-inch or 5-inch border. Yep. And then again I decided to go in with black. So it looks very scrappy. It was not intended to be scrappy, but it looks very scrappy. And this again is one of the importance of making sure you use contrasting colors. And I think I fell out of love with it because I didn't take the time to think about the colors I was actually using. I just used whatever I had at the time. Yeah, so I mean, looking at it from this distance, because I'm filming from on top, and it looks pretty okay. It looks pretty okay. Still don't love it though. Still have not fallen in love with it. It will be interesting to see if my objective changes once it is quilted. Now, talking about the quilting, I'm simply going to do loop-de-loops with flowers. I'll just do plain loop-de-loops, and I'll do some loop-de-loops with stars, because I really want to finish this quickly. I just think I'm at the stage now where, well, it's been sitting there for all this time, and I really just want to get it over and done with and complete the story of the quilt. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not sure what I will do with the borders as yet. But for now, the actual quilt top itself, I will just do what I just said for the quilting patterns. But yeah, it looks scrappy. It looks very scrappy, and I just feel that the colors, somebody may look at it and fall in love with it. I'm sure. You know, again, guys, do let me know what you think of it in this particular stage as it is, and you know, if you've got any UFOs that you would like to complete as well, and you know, close a chapter on that particular quilt. Yeah, so I'm going to go now and get it all basted, and I'll show you a little quick process as how I do that, and then from there we'll then start the quilting and then the binding. And guess what, I've decided now I'm going to use the same color, yellow, there for the binding. I'm going to go for it. It's already there. I might as well finish it off like that. You know, it's already sort of multicolored, I'm going to say, but I'm going to go for it and just use the same. I think I still have that yellow fabric there buried somewhere. When I was searching through all of my bits yesterday, I saw it. I'm sure it's still there. I may have to cut and join to make up the whole binding. I don't know what the size of the quilt is. It probably looks about 65 by 70. It looks square, so it could be 70 by 70. But yeah, I shall let you know what it is by the end, and we'll see how we get on with this. But yeah, so one of my first UFOs, I'll share another one with you later on, and you'll you'll probably see why I fell out of love with it. Hopefully you can see my point as to why I fell out of love with it. It was a very much a floral layer cake, and I didn't like the layer cake also. I don't know, it was just something about this particular project that I didn't like, and I did spend a lot of time, you know, putting it together, and for some reason I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to think about what I'm going to do next. And I just folded it up and forgot about it over a year and a half ago now. So there you go. Such is life. You move on to things. That's why for me commitment is so important, you know, because I want to know that I'm in love with what I'm doing from the start, so that I complete the story of that particular quilt. So commitment is very important, and these are all the reasons why I make a block again before I start the whole project. If I don't like the block, then I don't move forward. The amount of blocks I make, and they don't take me long to make the block, but I feel that if I make the block, then I can have a more clearer visual of how I want to move forward with the quilt. Okay, so I'm going to stop rattling on, and then I shall show you what the process is for basting. Alright guys, you can see that I've laid down the backing fabric for the quilt top, and secured it as neatly as possible for making sure that it doesn't move with masking tape. It's a piece backing, as you can tell, for all three of the sort of rows that you see there, and obviously in the middle is a block piecing as well. So all I've done is literally gone around and taped it down, making sure it's nice and secure so that it doesn't move. And then the next stage now is to add the batting for this particular area. Okay, let's go do that now. Now here you can see that I've laid some of the batting on. I do have quite a lot of strips of batting, and I wanted to get rid of them. Now normally I don't do this for a quilt. I usually use one whole piece, and ideally the right thing to do would be to zigzag all of the pieces of the batting together, but I am being a bit lazy, and I'm being honest about that. What I have done is just laid them out on top of the backing fabric. And now what usually happens with the actual batting that I use, it grips to it, so I'm not too worried about it moving. So I haven't glue basted at all. I've just literally laid it on top, and I'm confident that it wouldn't move. Now I do feel though that to the edge where it needs to be a little bit wider is a little bit narrow, in the sense that the batting, so I think I need to add another strip on either side, or just one side, because I think the quilt top might be a little bit over the batting. Now you need to make sure that the backing fabric and the batting is more or less the same size. It must be, however, bigger than the quilt top, so whether it's 3-4 inches is what I usually give myself. All right, so hence the reason why I'm saying I'm going to add on another piece of batting. And but this is just really targeted to new quilters, because I know as a new quilter you have all these sort of questions, and you need to find out and be sure of what you're doing. So that's where I am at the moment. So I'm going to move on now to putting on the quilt top, and I will actually glue baste that particular one, so you'll see me doing that. Okay, so I have pinned to the top of the quilt, and all I've used is just normal straight pins to do so. And I fold the quilt up so I can do bit by bit. Now I haven't basted the bottom. I would normally, but because it's in pieces, I opted not to. What I will do is do a little bit of pin basting as well, to hold it together. So, but I am going to glue baste the top, but I'll add some pins in between. I'm sure it will be fine. I'm not really worried about that, because as I said, the batting usually grips to the fabric anyway. So I'm going to just spray a little bit, not heavy, and give your glue a good shake before you start. Okay, and what I'm going to do is bring the fabric down up to the point where I've actually glued. Well, I should say fabric, I meant the quilt top. And you can see why I've pinned it at the top so it doesn't move when I pull it back. Okay, and I put it down. Take your time, really, don't rush it. It literally is a slow process to get it done. And before I actually smooth it out, I actually lay down properly first, before I know it's set there, and I literally then just hold it and then smoothen it out. So I gently just keep it taut in front of me and smoothen it out with my hand. Okay? And that's the first part on. Basically, that's literally it. And that's all nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do is continue, fold it back up now. Now, how I know where to stop is because I can see the fabric or the quilt top sticking. I can see that I can't move it back anymore. It's glued there. So that's where I know when to actually spray. And again, a good shake. And again, I'm going to spray probably about 8 inches. And that's it. Again, a light dusting of spray. Same thing. It does involve a lot of stretching. If I have a smaller quilt top, I obviously do it upstairs in the sewing room. But if it's a really large one, then I come downstairs. Again, same applies. I just roll it out. I press it down, smoothen it out. And before I lay my hands down on it to smoothen it out, I keep it a bit taut and I press my hands down and smoothen it as I go. Then I know it's stuck. Fold it back again till I can see where the glue stops, and it tells me immediately. I move back, shake, spray. Same applies. And again, just smoothing it out. Just keep smoothing it as you go. Now what I'm going to do now is add a bit of pins to it so that I have no issues. I'm going to do a bit of pinning now, just to make sure it doesn't move. And I'm pinning probably about a handprint away from each other. It doesn't really matter, it's up to you, whatever makes you feel happy with the amount of pinning that you're doing. It does require, when you do it on the floor, a lot of kneading, but if you can handle it, by all means. If I'm not in the mood, as I said, I do it upstairs. Okay, so I may add one in the middle. Just to make sure it's held down again. Just add a couple here and there, but it's relatively on there. I can see it, I can feel it, it looks nice and smooth. I'll show you a close-up once I'm finished so you can see what I'm working with. Right, so I'm going to continue now with the gluing. Fold that back, and I'm almost at the end. I think my glue is almost out. There we go. So hold it up, come back, again lay it out. Don't stick it yet, so I'm just getting it in place, making sure it's nice and taut before I actually smooth down. Once I'm ready, I start in one corner and move my hands down, keep pulling on it, make sure it's nice and taut at the same time. And since I'm there, I'm going to add a bit more pins to the end, again on the borders. I usually do the borders, if I have to be honest. I don't usually pin in the middle, and the reason why I do the borders is because I don't usually put much glue on the borders. It's mainly the center area of the quilt. So I'm going to finish that and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I've finished basting all around it with the glue. So what I'm going to do now is take off the masking tape at the edges, and but before I do that, what I'm going to do is trim it down. So I'm going to trim it probably about 2 inches away from the edge of the quilt top. And then the first thing when I get upstairs back into the sewing room, what I'm going to do is to do a very long stitch to baste the quilt all the way around to the edge of the border. And again, so just that holds it in place again so it doesn't move when I'm quilting. So that's what I'm going to do now. But it looks good, it looks nice and flat, it looks neat. So no issues really. So far so good. So you can see there what it looks like from each angle basically. So it looks pretty good, nice and flat. I must admit the colors look really good from this angle. Probably it's growing on me. Probably. Okay guys, I'll see you upstairs back into the sewing room where we will start the quilting. Okay guys, so I'm going to do some quilting. I have been doing some loop-to-loops, some meandering and some loop-to-loops with flowers at the end. I am using a gold colored thread, or in this case polyester. I'm not sure if you can actually see it. I'm really not sure about that. I haven't tested it out with the camera. Nevertheless, let's have a go. Mixing up the movement, so I may do some meander and I may do some loop-to-loops, and then at the end of the loop-to-loops I may add a little flower at the end. So that's what I've been doing really. There is so much patterned print on this that it's kind of pointless doing anything sort of pretty in terms of quilting. I have done some wishbones on the border there, but I think for the quilt top itself, I'm not going to really worry about that. So I'm just doing meanders at the moment, and I'm just going all over, trying not to miss any places out, because obviously the quilt is quite patterned, and it's a lot of taking time to see the print, or when I say to see the print, to see where I have been, because of the print itself. It's so much colors. I'm going to go back to my loop-to-loops now. So again, you can mix up the movement for your free motion. You don't necessarily have to stay with one style. So I can see a little bit of hook in there. And again, you got to keep moving the quilt around so that it is loose, because mine has a tendency of just hooking up on the table of the machine. So I just always need to stop and just adjust it so I have that free movement. And I'm literally doing big movement. It's not small movement at all, especially when it comes to, it's got a bit of a stop point there, especially when it comes to the meander and the loops. I'm literally making big movement, so it's quite spaced out. Do another one, so a bit meander shape, flower again. So if you are doing meanderings, just what you need to keep in mind is that you can leave unquilted spaces quite easily. So just ensure that you literally get every space. I mean, one of the ways of knowing it is observing that the space is unquilted. The puff is up a lot more than the others, so you're looking for equated unquilted spaces in between the meandering shapes. I'm going to go back to my meandering now. Dropping some loop-to-loops there. And as I go, I'm literally smoothing it out as I go. So I'm literally making sure, even if you see me do that, that's a change within my hand. So I'm back to where I started, so I'm going to come across here and come back down. And you need to make sure you roll so that you have space to move your hand, otherwise you will feel you wouldn't have enough room to actually stretch to go underneath or within the throat space. I'm going to zoom in, so hopefully you can see a little bit more once I zoom in. That's the other way. Oops, a daisy. So remember, the faster you move your hand, the bigger your stitches will be, okay? And I am moving my hand a little bit fast. And what you can do, if for example you've noticed you've left a space unquilted, what I tend to do is to go back over through sort of the twisted line. So if the curve, wherever the curve or the bend is, I will go slightly in between that line so it looks normal. I can do another flower again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is finish up this, and I shall show you what the completed quilt top looks like. So there's a darker one there, so hopefully you can see that. There's the flower. From there I branch off. Okay, so I'll go finish that and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, it's completed. It took me at least 5 hours to quilt the whole thing. The quilt measures 65 by 75, so it's a beautiful throw size. It's a solid quilt, and I'll tell you the reason why I say that. I used a non-quilting cotton at the back, so it makes it really solid and sturdy, and I love that about it actually. It's still very light, yeah, because obviously I use polydown, which consists of polyester and cotton for my batting. The quilting itself is really nice. I use a gold thread, and as I'm in the room here and the sun is coming up, you can see all of the gold glistening on the fabric, and I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely love it, the way it looks. Even on the purple you can see it coming through. On the gold corner here, in terms of the border, it looks fantastic also. You can see all of those quilting impressions, those textures there within the fabric from the quilting. On the yellow border used to frame the quilt, I did some wishbones. On the Seminole patchwork, which is usually used for border, and it's, in terms of decorative patchwork, so it's traditionally called a Seminole. So that works out really nicely. I do like it, but again, you can see all of the textures there on the purple border. For the Seminole itself, that patchwork, I just did sort of dot to dot in terms of highlighting the shape of it. And on the quilt top, literally in the middle there, I just did loops and flower meander. It shows off more at the back for that particular pattern, and I'll show you once I've turned the quilt over. But that is literally it. It looks nice. I'm still not in love with it. It's a very colorful quilt. All the colors do contrast with each other and looks really nice. I do like it. I must admit, I like the quilting that I've did on it because it allowed me to finish it within the 5 hours. So I literally took the time. I did it in one day. So obviously it was in a drawer, you know, it was really crumpled and rough, so I ironed it out, and I did the batting together, and then obviously I quilted it. So once I basted it, I literally started quilting it, and it looked really nice. I'm happy with it. I am pleased I completed the quilt. I really am, because it was born to be made a quilt. I did spend a lot of time with the patchwork and all the cutting, etc., because obviously this is all set on point, you know, and I had to cut in between the squares because each of them was a layer cake. Each square was a layer cake. So I cut them into 4, did a 1-inch strip and for random squares, and then sewed it between. And once you added that back, which I thought was pretty good, you did get back your 5-inch square, but you just added in that varying color there. So it looks good. I am happy with it. As I said, on the back I did a piece border, and you can see all of the quilting at the back. And let me try and roll it back a little bit more so you can actually see that piece border there. So yeah, so this was extra blocks that I had. Is 4 in total, and so I did a twist and turn pattern. These were jelly rolls that I had spare, and as I said many times before I make a quilt, I usually do a block. So this is 1 block here. Okay, that's a block there, and these are your 4 individual squares. Okay, and I used a prominent color at the end of the square to make that twist and turn that you see there. All right, so I could have used the red, but I chose this color here. For this one here, it was lime green, brown, and cream. And again, I used the lime green there, checkered. So that's another quilt pattern that I intend to do at some point. But the quilting looks really nice on the back, so you can see the little flowers there, you know, there's another one there, and then all the meandering shapes in between. The swirls are really nice and big, which I think I loved about that. And I think because I did all of the quilting patterns so big, it allowed me to finish it very quickly. So the quilt is still lovely and light, even though the backing is nice, structured and strong. I must say it feels really solid. And when I say solid, I mean sort of weighted. So this will be nice to throw over a couch. And I'm saying that because of the texture of the quilt itself. But it's lovely. I'm still not mad on it, you know, and it's the objective of today's tutorial was to complete your UFOs, you know, your unfinished projects, so that they can have a complete story and so be able to shine. And I know somebody would love it. I know that somebody would love it. And please comment below, let me know what you think about it. As I said, it's very bright, it's beautiful. In the beginning I felt I got all of the colors incorrect, but looking at it now, it actually works, because all of this here was still the 10-inch squares. The extra I added in was this, that one, the purple, and the black. So if you could notice, I did add some of the purple in there as well to make up the 10-inch squares. So I did do a lot of work on it. So ideally I should have really completed it because of the amount of effort I put in it. But it looks nice. It looks very bright. I think it'd be nice for a teenager's room. A girl, obviously, because it's got beautiful colors. But I like it. I like it. As I said, I'm especially in love with the borders, the quilting there, and on the black with the gold thread. I love the gold thread. I think this is my second quilt where I've used the gold thread, and it usually makes me fall in love with the quilt. I mean, look at it on there. Really, really nice. Okay, so guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I've inspired you to go into your boxes and get out your UFOs or your unfinished projects and bring them to life, because at the end of the day we spend so much time doing the patchwork, you know, making up that quilt top, that it's a shame that it stays in the box. And I had this in my box for about 1.5 years, and it's only the day before that I saw it, and I thought, you know what, the guilt came over me. Let me complete this. And here it is. It's finally been born and given its completed life. So do like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, tell me what you think about the quilt, tell me if you have any unfinished projects that have inspired you to complete, and have a good day, guys. Bye for now, and happy quilting.